Just as in the time of La Boétie, our enslavement to the pathocracy is, by and large, a voluntary servitude, born of obedience.
Is that really true? Well, I'm afraid it is, but we all need to understand it. And that clip was from a fantastic new movie, which is free. Link is down below. Please share and enjoy the movie like I did last night. Really great documentary. And it's called Dissent into Madness. It's a nice pun there. But here's a clip coming up, which is a little longer, and it goes through the Milgram experiment, which many of you may be familiar with, where people were giving shocks, even near lethal shocks, to people behind the screen at the instruction of a white-coated supervisor. So around 70% of people, astonishingly, would keep administering right up to severe shocks just because the white coat told them to. But there's a little more context in the following piece of the documentary, and also it pivots around to show us actually how we win against the totalitarian system that's accelerated since 2020 particularly. So truly great movie. Enjoy this clip. Get the link down below, and please do share it after watching with as many people as you can, because awareness is the only way we're going to save our children's futures. If people are not made aware of how this whole thing works, how the world works, how the banking system is at the top, right? The perpetrators of near everything. If people don't get to grasp this in the coming year or two, then we're probably hosed, unfortunately. But the positive news is, if people spread awareness and take an interest in the politics of reality around them, then we will indeed safeguard our children's futures. So that's the positive message. But anyway, here you go. Enjoy this.
Each variation produced markedly different results. When the test subject could instruct someone else to deliver the shocks instead of doing it himself, for instance, the percentage of participants willing to deliver the maximum, supposedly potentially lethal shock rose to an incredible 92.5%. When the experiment took place in an office building instead of on the Yale campus, the number willing to administer the maximum shock dropped to 48%. And when the test subject watched other people take the teacher role before them and observed them refusing to obey the experimenter's command to deliver the shocks, that subject's willingness to deliver the maximum shock plummeted to 10%. Let me rephrase that for the heart of thinking. When the test subject saw someone disobey the experimenter, they themselves refused to proceed with the experiment 90% of the time. This is the surprising conclusion that has been scrubbed from most accounts of the Milgram experiments. Disobedience, once modeled, becomes an option in the mind of the public. This point is crucial to understand because, exactly as Etienne de la Boétie pointed out nearly 500 years ago, a small cadre of tyrants, no matter how psychopathically menacing, are incapable of administering a tyranny all by themselves. They require the active participation of a much larger number of obedient order followers. Indeed, it's important to become conscious of the fact that none of the worst excesses of the pathocracy in recent times would have been possible without the active participation of vast swaths of the population. So-called vaccine mandates were not achieved by one psychopath in a position of political authority, or even by a gaggle of such pathocrats. They were enabled by the doctors who participated in the vaccination drives against their own experience, judgment, and training, the employers who imposed vaccine requirements on their employees, the business owners who implemented vaccine certificate checks on their premises, the police officers who threw the unvaccinated in quarantine facilities, the workers who kept those quarantine centers functioning, the judges and lawyers who rubber-stamped all these actions, etc. The same goes for any number of pathocratic abuses that we've been subjected to in recent years. These programs can only be implemented when most of the people comply with their orders and thus fulfill their role in the operation. Just as in the time of La Boétie, our enslavement to the pathocracy is, by and large, a voluntary servitude, born of obedience. Combining La Boétie's insight with Milgram's lesser-known experimental results, then, we find a template for toppling the pathocracy: highly visible acts of disobedience. But is this true? Can a single act of disobedience really bring down a pathocracy? Once again, we don't have to speculate about this possibility in a vacuum. Thanks to the wonders of modern technology, we can actually watch a recording of such an event happening in real time. On December 21st, 1989, Romanian dictator Nicolae Ceausescu took to Palace Square to address the Romanian people. At first, it proceeded like any number of such speeches he had delivered over the years. He talked about the successes of Romania's socialist revolution and sung the praises of the multilaterally developed socialist society that had arisen under his brutal reign. But then, something extraordinary happened. Someone booed. The boo was taken up by others and became a jeer. Chants of Timișoara rippled through the crowd, a reference to a massacre of political dissidents by Ceausescu's security forces that had taken place just days earlier. The dictator, unused to any sign of dissent from the population over whom he had ruled so brutally for decades, called for order. His wife demanded the crowd's silence, prompting Ceausescu to tell her to shut up, and then he attempted to continue with his speech. But the jeers began again. The footage of the incident, including Ceausescu's look of utter confusion as he realizes that the crowd has turned against him and that the threat of violence is not enough to subdue them, is priceless. There, captured on tape for posterity, is the moment when the realization dawns on the tyrant that the people have rejected his tyranny. The rest of the story, the riots and unrest, the attempted escape of Ceausescu and his wife, their capture by military defectors and their execution on Christmas Day, all stems from that precise moment when one person in the crowd simply voiced what the rest of the crowd was feeling.
That'll do it, folks. As I said, link down below to this superb movie, and it's free, so please do share, subscribe here as well, and hit the notification bell, all notifications, because a lot of shadow banning going on these days, as you may well know. And also, I generally remind people that the guys at Pure Gold in England offer a free consultation and a period of free storage. There's no commitments, there's no financial advice, but they have experts, if you contact them through the link down below, who will discuss general financial situation considerations. I personally have moved a sizable chunk of pension, etc., into physical gold and silver. All of my experts around the world agree, pretty much concur, that that is the way to go, especially in these challenging times, and especially if you're high net worth. I'm certainly not, but for people like that, it's even more important, might I say. So the link to Pure Gold down below, and you'll get an advisor there to talk you through anything you want to talk about, really, around finance and safety of investments and security of your family's kind of resources. So that'll do it till the next one, guys. See you soon.